My wife served me divorce papers at my own retirement party while my children cheered best day ever. That's when I learned what betrayal really looked like. I'm James Crawford, and 35 years I'd climbed electrical poles to keep their lights on. 35 years I'd worked overtime to pay for their dreams. And tonight, in front of everyone who respected my work, my own family celebrated destroying me. My wife Catherine thought she was taking half of nothing. My son Tyler believed he was watching a deadbeat finally get what he deserved. My daughter Melissa saw her chance to escape the embarrassment of having a blue-collar father. But here's what they didn't know. While they'd been planning my destruction, I'd been building an empire. I smiled, signed those papers, and opened my briefcase full of property deeds. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Because tonight, you're going to learn what happens when quiet people decide they're done being quiet. Let me take you back to understand how we got here. For 35 years, I climbed poles for Cleveland Municipal Power. Rain, snow, ice storms, I kept the lights on. But somewhere along the way, my family decided that made me a disappointment. It started small. Kathy would introduce me at neighborhood gatherings as, my husband, he works for the city. Never, he's an electrical lineman, or he keeps our power running. Just works for the city. Like I pushed papers in some forgotten basement office. The kids picked up on it. Tyler, now 26 and in medical school, learned early to be vague about my job. When his friends' parents asked what I did, he'd say, "Dad's in utilities." Never proud, never specific, just utilities. Melissa was worse. At 23, fresh out of her MBA program, she'd perfected the art of changing subjects when anyone asked about family. I overheard her once at a coffee shop with friends. "Your dad sounds amazing," one said about another girl's father who ran a tech startup. "What does your dad do, Melissa?" "Oh, he's between things right now." Between things. I'd worked the same job for 35 years, but it was the little moments that really showed me where I stood. Like when Tyler needed money for medical school applications. $3,000 for fees, tests, everything. He asked me for it like I should be grateful he'd even considered me capable of having it. "Dad, I know you probably don't have this kind of money lying around, but..." I'd written the check without hesitation. That was 18 months ago. He'd never asked how I had it so easily available. Or when Melissa needed a co-signer for her student loans. The bank required someone with stable income and good credit. She came to me last, after trying her mother's brother and 2 family friends first. "Dad, I hate to ask, but you're literally my only option." My only value was being the last resort. The worst part was watching Kathy feed this narrative. At dinner parties, she'd laugh about my simple needs. How I was happy with my Red Wing boots and Carhartt jackets. How I didn't need much to be content. "Jim's not complicated," she'd say. "Give him his tools and his TV, and he's fine." Like I was some kind of pet. She'd complain to her sister about my lack of ambition. I heard the phone calls. He could have gone to trade school, become an electrical contractor, made real money, but he was too comfortable just being an employee. What she didn't know was that I'd been using that employee income very carefully. While she spent money at Target and took the kids to expensive restaurants, I'd been learning about real estate. While she bought new furniture and planned vacation trips, I'd been studying property values and rental markets. Every overtime shift, every weekend emergency call, every holiday, I worked while they stayed home warm and safe. That money had a purpose. My first property was a small duplex in Lakewood. Bought it in 2008 when the market crashed. $15,000 down, fixed it up myself on weekends. Within 6 months, I had reliable tenants, paying me $1,200 a month. More than enough to cover the mortgage. But I never mentioned it. Kathy would have found reasons we needed that money for other things. The kids would have seen it as proof they deserved more spending money. So I kept quiet, and I kept buying. Property 2 came in 2009, a single-family rental in Parma, then a triplex in Lakewood in 2011, a small apartment building in Cleveland Heights in 2013, each one carefully selected, each one generating positive cash flow, each one completely invisible to my family. They saw me come home dirty, exhausted, and assumed that meant unsuccessful. They never wondered why I wasn't stressed about money. Never questioned how we always seemed to have what we needed, even on my supposedly limited salary. The disrespect became routine. Tyler would borrow $200 here, $500 there, always with the same tone, like he was doing me a favor by giving me the chance to help him. Melissa treated family dinners like charity work. She'd show up, eat her meal, and scroll through her phone. When I'd try to talk about work, she'd give me the same polite smile she'd give a stranger making small talk in an elevator. And Kathy? She'd started looking at me like I was a problem that needed solving, like my presence in her life was holding her back from something better. I began staying late at job sites, not because the work required it, but because home felt like a courtroom where I was permanently on trial for the crime of being ordinary. But here's the thing about ordinary people. We notice things, we listen, we remember, and we plan. By the summer of 2023, I could feel the marriage ending. Kathy had started working out at Planet Fitness. New clothes, new haircuts, coming home energized in ways that had nothing to do with exercise equipment. The signs weren't subtle. Text messages she'd hide when I walked into the room, phone calls she'd take outside in the backyard, suddenly needing to run errands that took 3 hours to complete. I could have confronted her, could have demanded to know what was happening, but I'd learned something over the years. Information's more valuable than confrontation. So I watched, I listened, I waited. The first concrete evidence came in August. A charge on our credit card for dinner at Pier W, the expensive restaurant on the lakefront. $87 for 2 people. Problem was, she'd told me she was having dinner with her sister that night. Her sister, who was diabetic and hadn't eaten at a restaurant in 2 years. Then came the gym membership upgrade. From a basic $20 a month plan to a premium $60 package that included personal training sessions. With someone named Brian Sullivan, I didn't need to be a detective to connect the dots. But the financial infidelity was just the beginning. Kathy started talking about our future differently, suggestions about selling the house, maybe getting something smaller, comments about how we were carrying too much debt for people our age. That's when I realized what was happening. She wasn't just planning to leave. She was planning to take half of everything she thought we had. The irony was staggering. While she was worried about our supposed debt, I was generating $15,000 a month in rental income. While she stressed about the mortgage on our house, I owned 10 other properties free and clear. While she feared we couldn't afford retirement, I had enough passive income to retire tomorrow. But if I stayed silent, if I let this play out the way she was planning, I'd lose everything. Ohio is a no-fault divorce state, which means the court doesn't care why marriages end. They just divide assets 50-50. The house we'd lived in for 20 years, half to her. My retirement account from 35 years of work, half to her. The savings account she thought was our only nest egg, half to her. But here's where her plan had a fatal flaw. She didn't know about the real estate portfolio. Every property was purchased in my name only, using income she'd never tracked during years when she'd paid no attention to our finances beyond her weekly target runs. Legally, those properties were mine. Morally? Well, that depends on how you feel about someone who spends 35 years planning to abandon their marriage the moment it becomes convenient. The kids were part of the plan, too. Tyler had started making comments about how Dad's getting older and how maybe it's time for Mom to think about her own happiness. Melissa posted pictures on social media from expensive restaurants and weekend trips that I wasn't included in, family events where I was either not invited or made to feel like an unwelcome guest. They were already practicing life without me. The breaking point came in early October. Tyler called to ask if he could borrow $5,000 for medical school expenses. When I asked for specifics, he got irritated. Dad, I don't need to justify every expense to you. It's for school, okay? 2 days later, Melissa called with a similar request, $3,500 for her business startup costs. They weren't asking their father for help. They were withdrawing money from what they saw as a joint account they'd be managing soon anyway. That's when I knew I had to act. Because if I let this continue, I wouldn't just lose my marriage. I'd lose my self-respect. The confrontation started over dinner on a Tuesday evening in early October. Nothing special, just the four of us around the kitchen table like we'd done thousands of times before. But the undercurrent had changed. Everyone knew something was coming. Kathy had made her special pot roast, the one she only cooked when she felt guilty about something. Tyler was home from medical school for a long weekend. Melissa had driven over from her apartment in Tremont. "This is nice," Kathy said, cutting her meat with more precision than necessary. "Having everyone together." "Yeah," Tyler agreed. "We should do this more often, while we still can." The phrasing was deliberate. While we still can. Like our family had an expiration date everyone knew about except me. I set down my fork. "Something on your mind, Tyler?" He exchanged glances with his mother. "Dad, we've been talking. About your future. About Mom's future." "Our future," Kathy corrected quickly. "Right. Your future together." I waited. Let them fill the silence. Melissa jumped in. "Dad, you've worked so hard for so many years. Maybe it's time to think about what comes next." "What comes next is retirement," I said. "In 2 weeks." "Right. But after that," Tyler continued, "you and Mom might want different things. That's normal. People grow apart." "People grow apart," I repeated. "Or people make choices." Kathy's fork clinked against her plate. "Jim, what's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, just thinking out loud." Tyler leaned forward. "Dad, can I be honest with you?" "I hope so." "You've been different lately. Distant. Like you're angry about something." I almost laughed. "Angry?" "Yeah, like you resent us for some reason." "For what reason would I resent you, Tyler?" He looked at his mother again. "Maybe because you feel like you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve, and you're taking it out on the family?" The audacity was breathtaking. My son, who'd never worked a day in his life, questioning my achievements. "What did I want to achieve exactly?" Melissa answered. "Dad, you know what we mean. Most people your age have more to show for their careers." "More to show," I said. "Like what?" "Like ownership of something, a business, real assets." I nodded slowly. "Real assets." "You've been an employee your whole life," Tyler said. "There's nothing wrong with that, but what?" Kathy finally spoke up. "But it limits options, Jim, for both of us." "What options are you looking for, Catherine?" The use of her full name caught her attention. I only called her Catherine when I was serious. "I'm just saying that maybe we both deserve a chance to explore what we want in our next chapter." "Next chapter?" I repeated. "Without each other." "That's not what I said." "But it's what you meant." The table went quiet. Tyler cleared his throat. "Dad, if you and Mom did decide to restructure things, we'd understand." "Restructure things?" "Yeah, like financially. The house, the savings, all that." I looked around the table. At my wife of 35 years, at my son who'd borrowed thousands from me without ever asking where I got it, at my daughter who was embarrassed to tell people what I did for work. "You've given this a lot of thought," I said. "We just want everyone to be happy," Melissa said. "Everyone to be happy." I stood up from the table. "That's interesting." "Where are you going?" Kathy asked. "To the garage. Got some thinking to do." "Dad," Tyler called after me, "but we're just trying to help." I paused at the doorway. "Tyler, let me ask you something. When you needed money for medical school, where did you think it came from?" "What do you mean?" $3,000 for applications, $5,000 for expenses. Where did you think I got that money?" Your salary?" "My salary that you just said wasn't enough to build anything meaningful?" He didn't answer. "Melissa, same question. When you needed a co-signer for $30,000 in student loans, what made you think I'd qualify?" "Dad, I don't understand what you're getting at." "I'm getting at the fact that none of you have ever asked me what I do with my money. You just assume I don't have any." "Jim," Kathy said carefully, "what are you trying to say?" I smiled. "I'm saying that maybe you should be more curious about the man you're planning to divorce. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Who said anything about divorce? Kathy asked. Catherine, you've been planning this for months. That's ridiculous. Is Brian Sullivan ridiculous too? The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know, but I wasn't done. Not even close. The next morning, Kathy was gone before I woke up. Early shift at the store, her note said. Funny thing was, she didn't work mornings. I made my coffee and sat in the kitchen, thinking about the conversation the night before. They'd shown their cards too early, revealed the plan before they understood what they were playing against. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Mr. Crawford, this is Jenny from Prestige Property Management. We have an issue with the Lakewood duplex. Tenant in Unit B reporting a leak. Can you call when you get a chance? I deleted the message quickly. Kathy sometimes checked my phone when she thought I wasn't looking, but the call reminded me of something important. My properties weren't just numbers in a bank account. They were real places where real people lived. People who depended on me to be responsible, reliable, available. Unlike my family, my tenants respected what I provided. 20 minutes later, another call. This one from my tenant in the Cleveland Heights building. Mr. Crawford, it's Diane from apartment 2A. The couple in 1B wants to renew their lease early. They're offering an extra $50 a month if they can lock in for 2 years. An extra $50 a month for 2 years. $1,200 in additional revenue because people wanted the security of staying in a place I'd made comfortable for them. I told Diane I'd think about it and call her back. As I was finishing breakfast, Tyler appeared in the kitchen, hair messy, still in yesterday's clothes. Medical school was clearly teaching him excellent life management skills. Dad, about last night. What about it? Maybe we came on too strong. Mom's been stressed about money lately. Money stress, I said. Interesting. She thinks we're carrying too much debt. I almost choked on my coffee. What debt? The mortgage, credit cards, you know. Tyler, we have one credit card, and we pay it off every month. Really? Really? Your mother never mentioned that? He looked confused. She said you guys were struggling to keep up with expenses. What expenses? I don't know, house stuff, utilities, normal stuff. I set down my coffee mug. Tyler, what do you think I make at my job? I never really thought about it. Guess. Dad, I don't want to guess. He shifted uncomfortably. Maybe 40,000, 50? I nodded. 50,000 for climbing electrical poles in all weather for 35 years. Right. You think that's a reasonable salary? I mean, it's decent for that type of work. That type of work. Dad, I didn't mean... Tyler, do you know what electrical linemen make? He shook his head. Base salary for Cleveland Municipal Power is $78,000. With overtime, holiday pay, emergency calls, I averaged $96,000 last year. His mouth opened slightly. And that's just the day job. What do you mean, just the day job? My phone rang before I could answer. The caller ID showed Property Solutions, LLC. Excuse me, I told Tyler and answered the phone. Mr. Crawford, this is Steve from Property Solutions. We finished the inspection on the Parma rental. Looks good for the refinance. Should have the paperwork ready by Friday. Sounds good, Steve. Send it to my office email. Will do, and congratulations on the Cleveland Heights building. Heard you got it fully leased ahead of schedule. Thanks. The location helped. Location always helps. Talk to you Friday. I hung up. Tyler was staring at me. Dad, what was that about? Business call. What business? I smiled. Nothing you'd be interested in, just some investments I've been working on. Investments? Small stuff? Nothing complicated. But Tyler was connecting dots now. The money I'd had available for his school expenses, the cosigner application that got approved instantly, the fact that I'd never seemed stressed about finances, even when he assumed we should be. Dad, how many properties do you own? Properties? That call was about properties. I finished my coffee and stood up. Tyler, your mother's been telling you I'm a failure, hasn't she? No, she just what? She thinks you could have done more with your life. I nodded. More with my life. Maybe she's right. Dad, maybe it's time to start doing more. I left him standing in the kitchen, probably calling his mother before I reached the garage, which was exactly what I wanted him to do. October 15th, 2023, my retirement party at the American Legion Hall on Lorraine Avenue. Kathy had insisted on organizing it herself. It's the least I can do, she had said, after all these years of service. At the time, I thought she was being thoughtful. Looking back, I realized she was setting the stage. The hall was packed. 120 people, maybe more. Co-workers from the power company going back 15 years. Union representatives. Neighbors. Extended family. Even some of my tenants showed up, which surprised me. I'd never told them about the party. Mr. Crawford treats us like family, said Maria, who lived in my duplex with her 2 kids. When the furnace went out last winter, he had someone there fixing it within 2 hours on Christmas Eve. The party started well. My supervisor, Bill McClellan, gave a speech about my safety record. 35 years, 0 serious accidents. Jim Crawford is the guy you want on your crew when the storm hits, he said, reliable as sunrise. People laughed, applauded, told stories about emergency calls we'd worked together, the ice storm of 2009, the blackout of 2011, times when the city needed power restored, and we'd made it happen. I felt appreciated, valued. For the first time in months, I remembered why I'd been proud of my work. Tyler and Melissa stood near the back, checking their phones. Kathy mingled with the crowd, playing the role of proud wife perfectly. She'd even made a scrapbook of photos from my career. Pictures of me in my hard hat on job sites, receiving safety awards. Catherine put this together herself, people kept saying. You're lucky to have someone who appreciates what you do. If only they knew. The cake cutting went normally. Standard retirement party stuff. People making jokes about me having too much free time, asking what I planned to do with myself. I kept my answers vague. Might do some traveling, work on some projects. That's when Kathy stood up to make her speech. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, she began. Jim has worked so hard for so many years. He deserves to be celebrated. Applause, smiles, everyone thinking this was a normal, loving tribute. Marriage isn't easy when your husband works the kind of dangerous job Jim works. There were nights I didn't know if he'd come home safe. Days when the weather was terrible and I worried about him on those poles. More nods of understanding. Spouses of other linemen knew exactly what she meant. But Jim always came home. He always provided. He always put his family first. The past tense wasn't accidental. I caught it, even if nobody else did. Which is why, she continued, this felt like the right time to make an announcement. The room went quiet. This wasn't on the program. After 35 years of Jim putting his work ahead of everything else, I think it's time for both of us to start new chapters. People looked confused. Start new chapters? We were supposed to start new chapters together. Kathy reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Jim, you've worked so hard for so long. You deserve freedom. Real freedom. She handed me the envelope. These are divorce papers. I filed them yesterday. The silence was deafening. 120 people watched me open that envelope and find 14 pages of legal documents requesting dissolution of our marriage. But here's the thing nobody expected. I smiled. Not the smile of someone pretending to be okay. The smile of someone who'd been waiting for this moment. Thank you, Catherine, I said calmly. This is very thoughtful. People didn't know how to react. Was this planned? Were we both okay with this? Tyler stepped forward. Dad, Mom told us this was happening. We support this decision. We think it's for the best, Melissa added. For both of you. And then Tyler said the words that sealed their fate. Honestly, Dad, this might be the best day ever. Melissa laughed. Finally, right? Finally. Like my marriage ending was a relief they'd been waiting years to celebrate. The crowd was stunned. People who'd known our family for decades watched my children celebrate their parents' divorce at my retirement party. Kids, Bill McClellan said carefully, maybe this isn't the time or place. No, it's perfect, Kathy interrupted. Jim deserves honesty. We all do. Must. I stood up, still holding the divorce papers. The room was dead silent. Catherine, this is definitely honest, I said. Very honest. I hope you understand, Jim. This isn't about failure. It's about accepting reality. Reality? I repeated. Yes, let's definitely talk about reality. I folded the papers neatly and put them in my jacket pocket. Since we're being honest in front of all these people, maybe I should be honest too. Kathy's confidence flickered. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time everyone understood what they're really celebrating here. Tyler looked nervous. Dad, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that your mother has been having an affair with her personal trainer for 8 months. Gasps around the room. Kathy went pale. I'm talking about the fact that you both have been planning this divorce for months, thinking you were going to get half of what you assumed I had. Jim, Kathy warned. Don't what? Don't tell the truth? At my own retirement party? I looked around the room. All these people who'd come to honor my 35 years of service. People who respected what I'd accomplished. The truth is, Catherine filed those papers because she thinks I'm a failure who never achieved anything meaningful. The truth is, my children are celebrating because they're embarrassed by what their father does for a living. That's not true, Tyler started. The truth is, I continued, none of you have ever asked what I do with the money I make. You just assumed I don't make much. My phone buzzed. Text message. I glanced at it and smiled. Actually, the timing on this is perfect. I just got a text from my property manager. The Cleveland Heights building is officially fully leased. That's building number 11, in case anyone's keeping track. The confusion in the room was palpable. Building number 11? Bill McClellan asked. Yeah, the apartment building I bought last year. Goes with the 10 other rental properties I've acquired over the past 15 years. Dead silence. Jim, Kathy whispered, what are you saying? I'm saying that while you've been planning to divorce me for half of nothing, I've been generating about $15,000 a month in rental income. Tyler's face went white. Melissa grabbed the back of a chair for support. I'm saying that your failed husband owns $2.1 million in real estate assets. The room erupted. People started talking all at once. Union representatives who knew my salary were doing math in their heads. Neighbors who'd assumed we were just getting by were recalculating everything they thought they knew about our family. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The chaos in the room was immediate. People talking over each other, asking questions, trying to process what they'd just heard. But all I could focus on was the look on Kathy's face. Pure, undiluted shock. That's impossible, she said quietly. We don't have that kind of money. You don't, I corrected. I do. Bill McClellan stepped forward. Jim, are you serious? 11 properties? 11 properties. Started with a duplex in Lakewood in 2008. Added 1 or 2 a year since then. How? Tyler demanded. How did you afford overtime? I said simply. Emergency calls, holiday pay, every extra shift I worked while you were all at home complaining about me never being around. That money went into real estate. My union representative, Steve Torres, was grinning. Jim, you magnificent bastard. You've been building an empire while we all thought you were just fixing power lines. I was fixing power lines, I said. That was my day job. Melissa found her voice. Dad, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I was investing money? When would that conversation have happened? Between you telling people I was between things and Tyler explaining I was just in utilities? People were pulling out phones, probably texting family members about the drama they were witnessing. The retirement party had turned into the most entertaining evening the American Legion Hall had seen in decades. Jim, Kathy said, trying to regain control, we need to talk privately. No, I said firmly. We're done talking privately. 35 years of private conversations got us here. Let's try public honesty for a change. My phone rang. I looked at the caller ID. Prestige Property Management. Excuse me, I said to the crowd and answered it. Mr. Crawford, it's Jenny. Sorry to bother you, but we just got an offer on the Parma property. Cash buyer, asking price, wants to close in 30 days. How much? I asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. $215,000. You paid $160 for it 3 years ago. $55,000 profit in 3 years? That's right. Should I accept? I looked around the room. 120 people hanging on every word. Let me think about it, I said. I'll call you tomorrow. Sounds good. And Mr. Crawford, congratulations on your retirement. You've built something really impressive. I hung up and smiled at Kathy. Real estate appreciates, I explained, unlike some other investments I've made. The dig wasn't subtle, and everyone caught it. Steve Torres was shaking his head in amazement. Jim, what's the total monthly income? $15,247 every month. That's more than most people make in a year? Someone called out. It's more than I made in a year when I started at the power company, I agreed. Tyler was doing math on his phone. Dad, that's $180,000 a year in passive income. That's right. But you still worked your regular job? I liked my regular job, and the regular job provided the down payments for the properties. Bill McClellan was laughing now. Jim, you could have retired 10 years ago. I could have, but I wanted to hit my 35-year mark. Full pension, full benefits. Why leave money on the table? Kathy was starting to realize the implications. Jim, these properties, are they in your name? They're in my name. All of them? All of them. Purchased with income you never tracked, during years when you never asked about our finances. The legal implications were sinking in. In Ohio, property acquired with separate funds during marriage can remain separate property. Kathy's divorce papers were asking for half of assets she didn't know existed and couldn't legally claim. Mr. Crawford, said a voice from the crowd, I'm Janet Walsh, attorney at law. I was your neighbor's guest tonight, but I have to ask, are these properties community property? No, I said, they're mine, purchased with my individual earnings, titled in my name only, managed through my business accounts. Then Mrs. Crawford's divorce filing asks for half of the house we live in and half of the savings account she knows about. She can have both. I pulled out my phone and showed the crowd my banking app. The savings account she's asking for half of has $8,400 in it. People started laughing. Kathy was asking for half of $8,000 while standing next to a man worth over $2 million. The house is worth about $280,000, I continued. Minus the mortgage, that's about $40,000 in equity. She can have my half too. So she gets $24,000 total? Tyler asked. She gets $24,000 plus whatever Brian Sullivan has in his savings account. The mention of Brian's name sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd. Melissa was crying now. Dad, we didn't know. We had no idea. Melissa, you never asked. None of you ever asked. Tyler stepped forward. Dad, I'm sorry. We all are. Can we fix this? I looked at my son, 26 years old, in medical school, about to graduate with massive debt and no financial plan beyond hoping his parents would help him. Tyler, do you remember what you said 15 minutes ago about this being the best day ever? He nodded, ashamed. Did you mean that? Dad, I was upset. I was confused about Mom and... Did you mean that? No. I turned to Melissa. What about you? Did you mean it when you said finally? She couldn't answer. I looked around the room. All these people who'd come to celebrate my career, now witnessing the complete collapse of my family relationships. The truth is, I said to the crowd, I've spent 35 years providing for people who never respected what I provided. I've given everything to a family that saw me as an obligation. I pulled the divorce papers out of my pocket. Catherine, these papers ask for a divorce. You'll get a divorce. They ask for half of our assets. You'll get half of the assets you knew about. I signed the papers in front of everyone. But the assets you didn't know about, the ones I built while you were embarrassed by my work, those stay with me. I handed the signed papers back to her. Congratulations on your new freedom. The room was dead silent. Now, I said to the crowd, who wants cake? The party ended quietly after that. People filtered out in small groups, talking in hushed voices about what they'd witnessed. Some stopped to shake my hand, tell me they were proud of what I'd built. Others just nodded respectfully and headed for the door. Kathy left without saying goodbye. Tyler and Melissa lingered near the back, clearly wanting to talk, but not knowing what to say. I was stacking chairs when my phone rang. My attorney, Patricia Reynolds. Jim, I just got a very frantic call from someone claiming to be your wife's divorce lawyer. Is it true you revealed substantial hidden assets at a public gathering tonight? Nothing was hidden, Patricia, just never discussed. Jim, we need to meet. First thing tomorrow morning. This changes everything. It changes everything for Catherine, changes nothing for me. It changes everything for you, too. Property division, spousal support, the whole case. I finished stacking the last chair. Patricia, every property is in my name, purchased with my individual earnings, managed through separate business accounts. Ohio is an equitable distribution state, but these aren't marital assets. You're absolutely right, but we need to document everything properly. Already done. I've been documenting everything for 15 years. Tyler appeared beside me. Dad, can we talk? I told Patricia I'd see her in the morning and hung up. Talk, I said. Dad, we messed up, really messed up. You did. Is there a way to fix this? I looked at my son, really looked at him. 26 years old, smart enough to get into medical school, stupid enough to celebrate his parents' divorce in public. Tyler, what do you want to fix? Our relationship? The family? What relationship? You mean the one where you borrow money from me without asking where I get it? Where you're embarrassed to tell people what I do for work? Dad, I was wrong about that. You were wrong about a lot of things. Melissa joined us, eyes red from crying, mascara smeared. Daddy, she said, using the name she hadn't called me in 10 years. I'm so sorry. Sorry about what, specifically? About not appreciating you. About being embarrassed. About everything. I nodded. Melissa, do you remember when you needed a cosigner for your student loans? Yes. You tried 3 other people first. Yes. Why? Because I thought you might not qualify. Because you thought I was poor. I thought we were all poor. No, Melissa, you thought I was poor. Your mother manages the household finances. You knew exactly how much money was coming in and going out. You just assumed I wasn't contributing much. She didn't deny it. Tyler, same question. When you needed money for medical school, why did you phrase it like you were doing me a favor by asking? I don't know. You do know. Tell me. I guess I thought you'd feel useful, like you were finally helping with something important. Something important. As opposed to keeping the lights on in Cleveland for 35 years. He looked down. Dad, I know how that sounds now. How it sounds now? Tyler, it sounded the same way then. You just didn't care how it sounded. I pulled out my phone and opened my contact list. I'm going to make some calls, I told them. Legal calls, financial calls, practical calls about what happens next. What does happen next? Melissa asked. Next, your mother gets exactly what she asked for. A divorce from a man she considered a failure. But you're not a failure. I know that. The question is, what are you going to do with that information? Tyler straightened up. Dad, what can we do? How can we prove we understand now? I considered the question. Tyler, you're in medical school. How much debt do you have? About $180,000. How much do you need for your final year? $90,000. Tuition, living expenses, everything. Melissa, you want to start a business. What kind of business? A boutique fitness studio for women over 40. How much do you need? $65,000 for the first year. Location, equipment, marketing. I nodded. So between the two of you, you need $155,000. They exchanged hopeful glances. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Your mother is going to discover that divorce is expensive. Her lawyer is going to demand documentation of all our assets. When she finds out about the properties, she's going to realize she made a very, very costly mistake. Will she get any of the rental income? Tyler asked. Not a penny. But she will get her half of the house equity and the savings account, about $24,000 total. That's not much to start over with, Melissa said. It's what she chose. I put my phone away and looked at both of them. You each asked me for help with money. Big money. Money I had and you needed. They nodded. But you asked like I should be grateful you were giving me the opportunity to help. Like providing for my children was a privilege you were generously offering me. Dad, I'm not finished. You want to fix our relationship? Here's how that works. Respect is earned through actions, not demanded through blood relation. You want my help? Show me you understand what help means. How? Tyler asked. Figure that out yourself. You're both smart, educated adults. If you can't figure out how to earn your father's respect, maybe you don't deserve his money. I headed toward the exit. Dad, wait, Melissa called. Are you saying you won't help us? I turned back. I'm saying help is something you ask for from people you respect, not something you demand from people you're embarrassed by. And with that, I left them standing in the empty American Legion Hall, finally understanding what they'd lost. The next 3 months played out exactly as I'd predicted. Catherine's divorce lawyer, Martin Hendricks, demanded full financial disclosure. When I provided documentation of my 11 properties, his confidence evaporated faster than morning frost. Mr. Crawford, he said during our first mediation session, this portfolio is substantial. My client was unaware of these assets. Your client never asked about these assets, my attorney Patricia Reynolds replied. In 15 years of marriage to a man who worked overtime regularly, she never once questioned where that money went. The math was simple. Under Ohio law, Catherine could claim half of any assets acquired during marriage with marital funds, but every property was purchased with my individual earnings, titled in my name, and managed through separate business accounts I'd maintained since 2008. These are clearly separate assets, Patricia explained. Mr. Crawford can demonstrate that every down payment, every repair, every improvement was funded through his individual labor. Catherine sat across the table looking like she'd been hit with a 2x4. Jim, this isn't fair. We were married. I supported your career. Catherine, you were embarrassed by my career. There's a difference. The final divorce settlement was signed in December 2023. Catherine received her half of the house equity, $24,300 after closing costs. She also got half of our savings account, $4,200, and the 2018 Honda Accord. Total settlement, $28,500. She moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Westlake. Brian Sullivan, her personal trainer boyfriend, ended their relationship 2 weeks after the property revelations. Apparently, dating a soon-to-be divorcee with no money wasn't as appealing as dating a woman he thought had assets. The social consequences were swift and predictable. Our neighborhood, where Catherine had spent years positioning herself as the long-suffering wife of an unambitious man, suddenly understood the truth. She'd left a millionaire for a gym trainer who made $30,000 a year. She was always talking about Jim's lack of drive, our neighbor Susan told me at the grocery store. Now we know who really lacked drive. Catherine's sister stopped talking to her. Her book club found reasons to meet without her. The narrative she'd built about being held back by her husband's mediocrity crumbled when everyone realized she'd been living off his success while publicly diminishing it. Meanwhile, Tyler's financial reality hit hard. Medical school tuition for his final year came due in January, $90,000. He'd been counting on family support that no longer existed. His first call came 3 days after Christmas. Dad, I need to talk to you. About what? About school. About money. What about it? I can't afford final year tuition. The loans I qualified for only cover 60%. That's unfortunate. Dad, I know I messed up. I know we all messed up. But I'm $30,000 short, and if I don't pay by January 15th, I'll have to take a leave of absence. Tyler, what do you want from me? I want to borrow $30,000. Borrow implies you plan to pay it back. When would that happen? After residency? After I start practicing? So, 7 years from now. Maybe 6. I let the silence stretch. Dad, are you still there? I'm here, just thinking about something you said at the retirement party. What? You said divorcing your mother might be the best day ever. Dad, I explained that. I was confused. Tyler, I don't loan money to people who think my personal disasters are the best days ever. That's not fair. Fair? You celebrated your parents' divorce in public at my retirement party. You think fair is relevant now? He hung up. Melissa's crisis came 2 weeks later. Her business loan application was rejected. $65,000 for a fitness studio startup. Without a co-signer, the bank wouldn't approve it. Dad, I know you're angry with us, but this is my dream. Melissa, what makes you think your dream is my responsibility? Because you're my father. Being your father didn't stop you from being embarrassed by my work. I was young, I was stupid. You were 23. That's not young, it's educated adult. Dad, please, I'll pay you back. I'll pay interest, whatever you want. What I want is a family that respects me. What I have is a family that wants my money. It's not about the money. Melissa, it's entirely about the money. 6 months ago, you couldn't be bothered to mention my job to your friends. Today, you're calling me for $65,000. What changed? I changed? We all changed. No, you didn't change. Your circumstances changed. There's a difference. The third call came from Catherine herself in February. Jim, we need to talk. No, we don't. The kids are struggling financially. The kids are adults. Tyler might have to drop out of medical school. Tyler should have thought about that before he celebrated our divorce. Jim, please. I know I made mistakes, but don't punish the children for my choices. Catherine, I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not rescuing anyone either. They're your children. They're adults who made their feelings about me very clear. They were protecting me. They thought I was unhappy. Were you unhappy? Yes. Then you got what you wanted. Everyone got what they wanted. Jim, I realize now that I made a mistake. A huge mistake. You realize that when you saw the property portfolio. That's not true. Catherine, you filed for divorce after 8 months of cheating with Brian Sullivan. You didn't realize anything. You got caught. She tried a different approach. What if we went to counseling? What if we tried to work things out? Catherine, you're divorced. You can't work out a divorce. We could remarry. The audacity was staggering. You want to remarry me for my money? I want to remarry you because I love you. You love my money. There's a difference. Jim, please. The kids need help. The kids need to understand that actions have consequences. They chose their side. Now they live with it. By March, both Tyler and Melissa were working retail jobs to pay their bills. Tyler took a leave of absence from medical school. Melissa moved back in with Catherine to split the rent on the one-bedroom apartment. The family that had celebrated my failure was learning what actual failure looked like. And I was finally at peace. 6 months after the divorce, I was sitting on my back deck, reviewing rental income statements and planning improvements for the Cleveland Heights building. $15,247 had been deposited into my business account that morning, same amount as every month for the past 3 years. The phone rang. Tyler. Dad, can I come over? I want to talk to you. About what? About understanding. An hour later, he knocked on my front door. He looked different, older, tired. The medical school confidence had been replaced with something more realistic. Dad, I got a job at Home Depot. 40 hours a week, $12 an hour. That's honest work. It is. And you know what I realized? What? People respect honest work. My supervisor treats me better than I ever treated you. I nodded. People respect what they understand. Dad, I want to earn your respect back. Not your money, your respect. How? I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out. 3 weeks later, Melissa called. Dad, I'm working at a gym in Lakewood, teaching fitness classes. It's not my own business, but it's related to what I want to do. How's it going? It's hard. The money's not great, but I like earning it myself. Earning money feels different than borrowing it. It does. Melissa, are you calling to ask for something? No, I'm calling to say thank you. For what? For teaching us what we should have learned years ago. I was quiet for a moment. What did you learn? That respect isn't something you inherit. It's something you earn. 2 months later, Tyler started taking evening classes to become an electrician. I want to learn a trade, he said. Something real, something useful. Today, he works for Cleveland Municipal Power, same company I retired from. He makes $78,000 a year and loves it. Melissa opened her fitness studio 6 months later, not with my money, but with a business loan she qualified for based on her own earnings and business plan. She's successful because she earned it. Catherine, she's still in Westlake, still working retail, still wondering what went wrong. I've built something lasting, not just the properties, but the boundaries. Respect through action, not assumption. If you're watching this, let me know where you're from. And remember, quiet people aren't weak people. Sometimes we're just choosing our battles carefully.